Hey! August, September, and October have always been a really busy month for my family. I've got Quinn's birthday in August and Tucker's birthday in October. We have Halloween to plan for with costumes. We also have a lot of fun things to do here in Utah. Pumpkin festivals and hay rides and the state fair. I've gone to a lot of concerts recently and I've gone out with my friends. We went and saw Fortune Fairmeister. Did I say her name right? I think so. And that was really fun. My friends and I, we sat in the very front row, which we knew going in this was going to be a bad idea because comedians always pick on people in the front row. And sure enough, Erin and I got picked on quite a bit. She made a lot of jokes about us having served missions and then being lesbians because she asked us questions. And I wish I could have got it on film. And I probably could have recorded it, but I felt a little nervous about recording it all. But it was really fun. And we got to meet her after and we had a blast. My kids' Halloween costumes this year are adorable. We always do a family costume, which those of you on Tumblr and my Instagram have seen, where we dress up the same in some kind of family theme. And then this year I let the kids pick out their own costumes. Quinn really wanted to be Skye from Paw Patrol. Tucker really loves horses, so he's going to be a cowboy. And I didn't get a very good video of them, but I got one on my phone. I'll kind of put it on here so you can see how cute it is watching him run around in his horse cowboy costume. It's adorable and hilarious. This month's been really fun. Also, as some of you know, I had some friends set up a GoFundMe to help me be able to keep the house.
Hey, Tucker, you know what's so good? Quinn, do you know what is so good?
Paper.
This paper. What does this paper mean?
We keep our house.
We get to keep our house. And why do we get to keep our house?
Because I love my bed.
You love your bed? We gotta say thank you to everybody who helped us be able to keep our house. Will you look at them all and tell them thank you so much?
Thank you so much.
And I cannot thank you enough for that. Also, I'm starting this new series of videos with my friends. I've got a lot of it I've started recording already and I'm editing, and I think you guys are going to really like what we come up with for that series. You know, I still want to do videos of me and the kids. I plan on this channel being a mix of things from here on out. It's going to be partly me and friends giving advice to LGBT people, but it's also still going to be a family channel with me and the kids. I want you to watch them grow up, and as they get older, I want them to eventually take over. My daughter is such a performer. It's really sweet. Now she started dance classes, and I love her being able to perform on this channel also, and to do her music videos and her songs and her thing. She's just such a fun kid. And so this is going to be kind of a mixed bag. I'll have some videos about friends and some videos about the kids. That's just going to be the things that I care the most about. Also, now that school has started, I have really gotten into literature again. As many of you know, I'm an English teacher. I teach at a high school. I really love literature. I do. And I was looking at some of the books and stories that I read when I was in high school and started getting this literature from my teachers. I didn't like a lot of it, and I would get frustrated with some of the themes and ideas. I was frustrated that there were no happy endings in these novels that my English teachers kept giving us. We read The Crucible, we read The Great Gatsby, and Of Mice and Men, and short stories like An Occurrence on Owl Creek Bridge and The Story of an Hour. And I do remember I really liked The Yellow Wallpaper. That was one. I liked the idea of a woman going crazy and having the wallpaper be a character in her delusion. I loved that one. And all these stories have these sad endings. I remember the first time that I ever fell in love was when I was in college, and feeling like I was hearing music for the first time. That I had heard these songs a million times before, all these love songs, and yet it wasn't until I actually had experienced love that I understood those songs in a deeper way. I'm finding that literature is doing that for me now. You know, music is either angry or emotional or romantic or angsty or something, and it's about a moment in a person's life. But literature is longer. It says more. All of those words and all of the combination of factors that cause this ending or these situations and the dynamics of character that makes it more complicated. I reread recently The Story of an Hour, which is a short story by Kate Chopin. And I remember reading it in high school and not loving it. It's, spoiler alert, the basic premise of the story is a woman who has a heart defect of some sort. Her family is nervous to tell her that her husband has died in an accident. And they want to be kind about it and gentle about it. And so they approach her and they tell her that her husband has died. And she has a moment of grief. But then she goes into her room and closes the door and kind of spends an hour letting that information sink in and feeling, much to her surprise, this sense of freedom and joy and excitement about life, about a new future without having that patriarchy and that difficulty and the need to make compromises, and all of that is kind of washed away, and she feels herself to be so free and enlightened, and she repeats, free, free, free. And the door opens and her husband walks in, and it's shocking to everyone, and she dies from seeing him, from the moment of seeing him, and dies, and they deem that her death was from joy, that she just had so much joy in seeing that her husband alive. But that's not the case to the reader. You realize that shock and that almost disappointment that now she's no longer free, that she had freedom for this moment and then comes into this reality. And I remember reading it in high school and thinking, oh, her husband must have been abusive. He must have been mean. He must have been horrible to her, and she was just good at hiding it. And I remember other kids in the class having the same feelings and mentioning that to the teacher, and our teacher saying, no, look in the text. Nowhere does it say that he's mean. It actually says that he was quite loving. And she does feel grief for a moment, but overpowering and stronger than that is that she gets to be free. So I reread this story and remembered hating it in high school. That was before I had ever been in love and experienced love, and the romantic idea of what love was and what relationships are, you know. And then later on in life, in college, after I had experienced love and complete heartbreak with my first breakup, I had read it again, and I understood it in a different way. In the same way that you might listen to a song on the radio and then hear it again after you've experienced something and getting a completely different meaning. I felt that in college. I got a completely different understanding of that short story, but I still didn't quite understand. And I thought I did. I thought I had figured it out and wrapped it up and put a bow on it, you know. When you get married, there's this feeling of this relief, this feeling of safety and security, and that saying I do and writing your name on paper. And I remember thinking when I was getting married, now nothing bad can happen. No matter what happens in life, no matter the heartbreak and the death and the devastation and the floods and anything that could happen, no matter what, I have the love of this person and we're going to get through it together. And there was this safety and security in that, and thinking that no matter what, from now on until forever, I found at least love. And then, you know, I reread that story now, and I reread so much of literature now with a completely different lens and worldview and understanding, and now I see it in such a different way. Heartbreak and divorce can really put a new light on a lot of the idealism that I had. And I'm learning to see things a little deeper, because next time, if there is a next time, that I say I do, I have a different understanding that that is not a forever, perhaps, and that is not safety for good. In rereading The Story of an Hour recently, I came to view it with a different perspective, and being free and single but not quite free and single. It's heavy. It's heavy. I seem to find that nobody gets it except for literature. And these great writers who've been able to so beautifully describe what relationships and fear and love and forgiveness and longing, there's so much to it, you know. I got an email from my ex recently. I'm not going to get into, but I had such a hard time finding a way to respond. Because when you respond, you solidify an answer. You solidify, this is how I feel about this thing, whether it's anger or resentment or gratitude or frustration or relief or whatever it is, whatever words you put on it, make it solid forever. It doesn't give you the ability to be able to still live with those feelings in a fluid way. And in some situations and for some people, putting something in concrete, making it stick, it makes it a forever that shouldn't be labeled. I don't know if I'm making sense. It makes sense to me. But there are some times that putting a label on something is good and feels good. I got another message from somebody fairly recently who hurt me and my family quite a bit. And it felt good to just, write out a response and just to stamp and slap that response and push it out of my life and be able to let go of it and package it in that way and put a label on it and be done. And in some ways, I don't need a full understanding of that person and that situation and all of that feeling like, done, packaged up, get out forever. But I can't do that to the experience that I'm having now, where I'm co-parenting for the rest of my life. And I love my kids, and I need my kids to feel loved and safe and respected no matter where they are. And I'm figuring it out. I'm slowly figuring it out. And reading literature and being a teacher again is reminding me. My students and I, we just read The Crucible by Arthur Miller, which is so mean of me. It's a tough novel because it's a play, and we watch it with the movie so they can at least visualize it as it's meant to be read, is visually. But I really love getting to the end and having them be so shocked and saddened by the ending. It's a tragedy. And there's so many tragedies. Why do teachers keep forcing tragedies down kids' throats? And I think the reason for it is because we've all lived a lot of life, and there's a big part of us that just wants kids to realize that stories that have happy endings aren't the end of somebody's story. Once Snow White and the prince get married, they still have a lot of life to live, and they still have a lot of story to live, and that story is sometimes more beautiful. So we mean English teachers like to make our kids read The Crucible and The Great Gatsby and these novels that are just totally heartbreaking. And a lot of times our kids don't get it, or they get frustrated with us, like, oh, why'd you make me read this sad story of mice and men? This is horrible. How dare you, Miss Green? And I love to remind them that if we think that death is a sad ending, then we're all going to have sad endings. Right? Instead, we need to value the life and the struggle and the ability to, even in death, become a hero. John Proctor would not be a hero today if he hadn't have died the way that he does in the novel. And Lenny Small and George's relationship, where so many kids think that they must have hated each other once they get to the end, but I just say, then you weren't reading close enough. Because the ending of our stories is never going to be a marriage. Your story doesn't end on the altar. That happily ever after isn't ever after, but you can still be happy. But life is difficult, and there are always going to be storms, and there are always going to be turbulence and difficulty and boredom sometimes. And that idea that if I got this person, then I can at least have this safety net when you get married. You get that feeling, that peace, of like, at least we've got each other forever, and everything else we will work with and we will deal with. We never think that losing that is going to happen to us, but it does. And to be quite honest, it happens, over 50% of marriages end in divorce these days, and not even that. I mean, you also aren't counting those that end with a partner dying. And even many that stay together face a lot of difficulty in life as their kids struggle with different issues throughout their lives too. And life isn't easy. It's not packaged up in a pretty bow. I see so many kids on Tumblr who are so frustrated with their lives, who think that they can't be happy right now until this happens, or until they meet somebody, or nobody gets me, or nobody understands me, and of course not. Of course nobody gets you and nobody understands you. It's okay, because you're the only person that knows you fully. Your parents may know you pretty well, and your friends may know you pretty well, but you're the only one who really knows yourself. We need to live life in a way that we're not waiting for a happy ending, because none of us are going to have happy endings. There's no such thing. But that doesn't mean that we can't be happy. And that doesn't mean that we can't live a life that's worth living and find honor and pride in the things that we do and say, and recognize that honesty and kindness and intelligence and family and friendship and life is worth living for. It comes to mind the idea of suicide, where I have been in that dark place. I've been in that dark place more than once in my life, where I wanted to just end it all and be done. But if I had done that, if I had let that be my ending, then I do have a sad ending. Instead, I'd rather have my ending be some accident in a car or some disease that I fight through and encourage people through. Because in some way, we don't have control of our endings unless we cause our endings, right? And your ending is going to be sad if you cause it and you have it in a dark place of your life. But instead, I'm going to try really hard to focus on living as good of a life as I can, and finding happiness in the moments that I can, and always reminding people that I love them when they leave, and showing up as a parent for my kids the best that I can. That is the only way to guarantee that even if your ending is sad, that your life has been worth living. I think more than anything what I'm trying to say, and what my point in this video is, and what literature is teaching me, is that life is going to be hard and complicated, with complicated characters that come in and out, and things are going to happen that you're not expecting, and some things are going to happen that you wish could happen, and you'll find so much joy in moments. And no matter what happens in your life, no matter how difficult it can be sometimes, there's still so much story to live. Don't think that you've crushed it and it's over and there's no chance of redemption or coming back. As long as we don't give up, we can always come back and let hope and kindness lead us into the next obstacle that we're going to face. And we'll keep coming out of it stronger, and you will surprise yourself by the type of human that you will have become. So keep living, keep trying, keep facing these constant obstacles, because you're going to get through it. And read some literature while you're at it.